Linda Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
I know you from the Chillicothe Council's.
Actually before that, when we had Anana's down on 2nd Street, you dropped in there a few times in your regalia when you did the history tours and the ghost tours.
Okay,
so,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I had covered the homeless shelter, the resource center, and I wanted the other side of the story. What do people do when the homeless shelter is full? So why don't you introduce yourself and your role in the homeless issue?
Okay, my name is Linda Hoover. My 9-to-5 job is I work in housing at Pickaway County Community Action, but that has nothing to do with Southern Ohio HART. We are a state and federal level advocacy agency or group. We're not an agency yet. So we interact with a lot of different homeless providers and cities who have enacted homeless legislation but have been able to turn it around in a positive manner instead of how our city has addressed it. We're actually seeing some of those cities now that did put homeless legislation into effect reducing their homeless numbers by following best practice guidelines that are being put down.
All right, so before we were rudely interrupted by my alarm, you were talking about how some cities have
successfully turned around their homeless problem to where they've reduced their numbers significantly just by following best practices that are established by the National Alliance to End Homelessness, the National Low Income Housing Coalition, the National Homeless Coalition, Democracy Forward even is beginning to get involved in the homeless and HUD legislation right now.
And the legislation was different than what Chillicothe has done.
Oh yeah, this is at the federal level, what we're talking about. But what Chillicothe has done, and you were there, when they vetoed the mayor, when they decided
overrode the mayor.
Yeah. They were going to establish this 5-point plan.
Five-year plan?
5-year plan, yeah. It never came to fruition. All I've seen them do is to shift it from Kathy Bennett to McKeever. And there's still no plan in place. I haven't even heard of the concept of a plan. So, what other cities have done and what our city leaders refuse to do or reluctant to do, whatever their framework is to talk with these other cities who have been successful, finding out what policies they put in place, what protocols they put in place, and how could we adapt those to our city. Right now, as you know, the shelter had to cut beds because of some issues in the shelter down there that need to be fixed before they'll increase their beds. They took them, they had at one time, right after they first opened, I think it was 80-some beds, and now I think it's down to 60-some. But this is because of some repairs that need to be done.
Okay, probably health code.
Yeah, to bring them up to code. And, so that took a huge chunk out of resources for the people who are still out there struggling on the street. There aren't a lot of them that are visible now because they've been shoved into the farther back into the woods. I know where there's a camp, and these are the people who have been to shelter, but for various reasons, they either have mental health issues or they have anxiety issues. They can't be around other people. They just can't go to shelter. But nobody's doing anything for them.
What options are available, even if limited?
Right now, none. There's no funding. If we could get churches to open their basements, their doors, when they're not having services or not having activities, to house some of these people overnight, to get them off of the streets, especially when it's extremely cold. That list of resources that I sent to you, I call those at least a couple of times a week. They have waiting lists. There's no available beds. There's nobody looking at ways to create and build other resources. But yet they still want to complain. We don't want them here. We don't want them visible. Let's just shove them out where we don't have to think about them. We don't have to look at them. It's inhumane. It's inhumane. Many of the homeless people that I work with, and now we're seeing families in cars with children.
Is the homeless situation worse in the last 5 to 10 years?
It's worse in the last year. It did. As soon as they opened the shelter down here, we did see a huge decrease in our numbers here. But with the loss of those few beds and the loss of funding for other people perhaps to get involved, maybe to open their own shelter, their own, take people in, because I think in the city of Chillicothe you can have 5 unrelated people living under one roof. If there was money.
Without a zoning change or code change.
Yeah. I mean, we have to do something. We have to do something. And it doesn't have to be something that they carve in stone and it's out there for until the end of time. Let's create some temporary solutions to solve this problem right now to the best ability that we can. And then as we begin to get people housed and we're moving them off the streets, or we're moving them into some sort of care facility, because there are a lot of them out there, and you see them every day, that really need to be someplace where they can be monitored, where they can have case management, where they can have medication control.
So you're saying there's really no option if the shelter is full?
Right now, no.
There are no other shelters?
That list that I gave you are the shelters that I am in contact constantly within a 5-county region. Today I did get a notice from an establishment out in Athens, and I've got to call her tomorrow to get more information, but it's a DV shelter. But it's for mothers and they can have children age 4 or younger, that they can stay with them at this DV shelter, and they do have some beds.
DV?
Mm-hmm. Domestic violence shelter, but it's for women and children.
So pretty much
it's a mess.
if they can't get into the shelter on Eastern Avenue, they have to find a tent or a bridge.
Yes, yeah. And of course, the minute that they do that, if they're within the city limits, they're getting ticketed or fined or threat of arrest or told to move your camp or...
Well, how much interaction has happened since the council?
From what I understand, that the police really have not taken any action, and I attribute that to Ron, Chief Myers, because he fought against that legislation as hard as the mayor did. But at least he's sending our police officers out there with the HART, and they're still trying to connect them to services. I mean, if they've done something, and there's so many of them out there now, they'll go shoplift just to get into a jail and get off the streets for a night. That's not the way it should be. It's not the way it should be.
Well, the police officers, they're not required to cite people, and they're encouraged to share information and resources.
Yeah, that's the way that the legislation was written. That's not what they're required to do, but that is what they are doing.
Okay.
They're showing a little bit of compassion, a little bit of care, and it's not just, hey, you're homeless, you're on the streets, and you're bothering this business owner, we're going to throw you in jail, or we're going to fine you, we're going to cite you. How are you going to find people who don't have a job, who don't have money? And then the way that it works, you get fined, you get cited for this little misdemeanor, and then after 3 times, it can become a felony.
Although the recent legislation by council has decreased the fines.
They have? Okay, because I haven't been to council since they overplayed the mayor's hand. I got so disgusted with him. I do have to say, though, we do have a couple of newer council members that I'm really impressed with their eagerness to help. And I'm a liberal. Yes, I'm a liberal. But one of them is a Republican, and he has also become my mechanic. And we've had some conversations, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about some different things, especially some things that I see that need to be changed down in our district. Whatever possessed me, but I dropped my truck off there the other day for him to do some work on it, and I thought I'll just walk home. It's about a mile and a half. I haven't walked over 2 blocks in 10 years. I made it as far as Tim Hortons and had to stop for 45 minutes. But as I'm walking down Rennick Avenue, and every day, every night, every morning, I see the homeless coming from the shelter, coming up to the pilot, they get breakfast, and then...
That's a long walk.
It's a long walk. When it's dark, you can't see them. They don't have on anything reflective. There's no sidewalk for them to walk on. There's also a couple from over at Quinn Court Apartments. They're both in wheelchairs, but bigger people. And the only way they get around to go do things is they both have motorized wheelchairs. I don't know how many times I've almost hit them because you can't see them. You can't see them until you're right on them. So I'm gonna try to get Rich down there to take a little walk with me and just so he can see for himself how dangerous it is for people up and down that street. And then we've got a guy that lives down at the end of the street who thinks it's his own private raceway. Burns out all the way up. So I want some speed bumps.
Well, it sounds like Reflective Year might be a good volunteer or donation drive.
Yes, yeah, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk to him about, and I'm going to talk to Julie about and see who we could contact to be able to get some reflective tape put on the back of their coats, put on something on the back of their bicycles. I think they're supposed to have some kind of light or something, but I can't tell you how many of them I see that don't. And I don't want to wait for somebody to get hurt. Seriously injured down there. We've got to do something. So, with all the construction and all the money that, they can't seem to find what they want to do with it, that would be a good place to plant some of it. But, I don't know,
Well, there have been some grants for additional sidewalks.
Yes, yeah.
Woodbridge, Buckeye Street.
Mm-hmm. Getting close. Though they did some down over on Watt Street. But... The water treatment plant is right down at the end of the street, and then Buckeye Spring, I think is the name of the place. It's all the way back there.
Yeah.
Well, the big trucks come down through there, and a lot of them, most of them come really slow. I'll have to give them that credit. But there's some of them that just come flying down through there, and you'll hear them hitting those air brakes as they go past my house, getting ready to make that turn at the end. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. If you're out there on foot or on a bicycle or in a wheelchair, it's dangerous.